Welcome back to Rising Up and Finding the Power Within with Nancy Pusateri. I'm so glad you're joining us for episode 2 of our enlightening series on trauma programming and how to find your freedom. So get comfortable and prepare to embark on this transformative journey with me. Together, we'll uncover the strength within you to rise up and find the freedom you deserve. Let's get started.
So touching on projection, I wanted to do a little more of that. Abusers often project their negative behaviors onto their victims. They'll accuse them of actions they themselves are guilty of. Now that causes the victims to be confused and have self-doubt. And you need to be aware of these signs of what you are feeling internally in knowing whether or not you're being programmed, because you will respond in a way to diffuse the situation. You will find words or actions or do kind things for a manipulator to kind of get them to calm down a little bit, because you need some of that pressure off. And you're not just having a conflict with them, you're having a conflict within yourself, trying to gather the reality versus the false reality that they're presenting. So if you are constantly in self-doubt, if you frequently question your own thoughts, feelings, or memories, then that's probably an indication you've been getting gaslit. And I would just pay attention. These aren't things to just overlook. And if you're feeling lonely or being cut off from your friends and things like that, you're probably going through some emotional manipulation. So these feelings of isolation are really there's a name for it. And then if you find yourself, overly concerned about, what's upsetting your friend or partner or spouse, and you're constantly walking on eggshells, well, that's emotional abuse. And that fear of conflict is what I was saying. You're always trying to find some way to appease them and, lighten the load a little bit. Excessive apologies. And these are habitual things that we implant into ourselves. How many times I said, I'm sorry, when I didn't have to say I'm sorry. It's a natural reaction from my trauma. I've actually had people snap at me and I was really embarrassed because I said I'm sorry too much. So watch how you're talking, record yourself, re-listen to yourself, and just identify some of the areas that you want to tweak about what you sound like, and how you present yourself. Also, other than the frequent apologizing, you notice that you start changing your behavior, the way you express yourself. Your interests are no longer your interests because you're appeasing your partner. So that's because they're controlling you. And that change of behavior, if you're seeing that inside of you, you need to stop and question, why am I putting aside the things that I enjoy doing and the things that, they're not bad, but the manipulator, the abuser, the person that's in your life handling that situation is making it look bad. And that's not fair to you because you don't deserve that. Start listening to survivor stories. Even share your story. By doing that, you get engaged with a community that understands, and actually you'll be like, oh my God, that reminds me of the time when I went through XYZ, and then these things are healing for you regardless. It's like little eye openers. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that was wrong. Because it was so subtle, you felt it was wrong, but it wasn't loud enough for you to complain about. So you dismiss it and you dismiss it and you dismiss it. And it does nothing but escalate. And before you know it, you're in this tub filled with crap and all this stuff. And you're just like, oh, I have no energy, because you're getting bombarded on the outside, on the inside, and then the residue. That's the unresolved issues that just get pushed under the rug. So they're really good at not resolving issues. They never will admit that they are at fault. If they do, it's because they have another intention to harm you again, emotionally, mentally, and so on and so forth. So looking into getting into some healthy support groups, maybe just getting engaged with someone who's been in that world that you can rely on and call on whenever you need someone to talk to, because it's just getting so big. And if you're able to go and see a therapist. These sources are really helpful for you because they'll be able to also go outside of the scope and look at things in a view that you don't view. So you could go over those stories with them and they can tell you, well, did you see that they did this, this, and this that led to this, and then you didn't realize that. So that sharp intellect is very important to have in your life because they make you see things that you didn't see. Finding pathways to freedom is the whole goal. If you are unable to get out of a relationship that involves a manipulator or an abuser or both, I get it. It's very difficult. You just try to kind of take it one day at a time. Hopefully there won't be a flare up. You'll appease them. You'll try to keep things calm, but I encourage developing a safety plan on the outside, having an outline of steps for if you were to leave, where would you go? Do you have a safe location? Do you have transportation? What would you take with you? Who would you tell? Who would you include in that dynamic? And then experts can help you get away from unhealthy situations, especially if you have children. You do want to exit because children will start thinking that this is okay. And you don't want your child to be around that because they're already getting emotional blocks from the little bit that they're seeing in their short term of their life. Anything more as they get older and their brain develops, they're sponges. And the harm you could be doing is causing depression, unhealthy relationships in their future, anxiety, PTSD, fear. And if they're being abused, that's going to escalate as to how many emotional blocks they'll have in their body that they'll have to challenge through. And getting complex PTSD is not a fun thing to have because it's an isolated individual who is continuously, repeatedly traumatized. And the body just responds by trying to survive. And that survival tactic becomes a wiring of our brain, of our emotion, of our reaction, that in adulthood, to undo all of that is so much more difficult than resolving it at a very young age. So if you are able to remove your children out of that situation in a more healthy environment, I highly encourage it. What's happening is the abuse is just in a cycle and it's just continuing and continuing. Seeking support, like I said, with your safety plan, making sure that you have friends, family members you can trust that will not go back to the abuser and let them know what you're doing. I do have myself a couple family members that would go behind my back and go and tell the person that was hurting me my plans and giving them a heads up. They did not have my best interest. So make sure that family or friend is really devoted to you and document everything. Today we have our phones, take pictures, do things, journal it, figure out a little code of, the eagle, ate the bird today, and that's just signifying that they went on a rampage. Whatever you can do to try and have some sort of documentation without you getting caught, without you being punished, because you're going to start taking proactive steps. And if you do get caught, they will restrict your surroundings even more, and that's even more difficult. And I always highly advise you to just be very, very cautious, maybe talk to an attorney. A lot of times you can write stuff down and the next day just mail it out to a trusted attorney, family friend, or someone, so that way they can keep this documentation without it being left in the house or in the car. There are creative solutions to get out of this situation, and you're going to have to go outside of the box. I had to do it, and it was very difficult because I tried different types of solutions that kept failing. And I encourage you never to stop trying. You are worthy, and you do not deserve to be treated this way. And these individuals need to be put in their place. They need to be told that they cannot treat people that way. But again, they'll probably move on from you if you were to leave them to another victim and continue that behavior. So, and never ever warn the victim, because they never ever, warn the new victim, because they will not believe you and they will go to your abuser and relate that information. And you don't want to have the repercussions of that. You want to remove them from your life. And if this individual approaches you and says, I've been having difficulty and I want to know how your experience was in this relationship, they can go ahead. At that point, you can go ahead and let them know what you are comfortable on letting them know. So, it depends. It depends on the individual. It depends on the extent of trauma, how much this person, how far they will go, because sometimes they'll start stalking, they'll start doing things that is just so bizarre and it's not normal behavior. And people, it's hard to convince people that this is how these individuals are and how they operate. So documenting, taking pictures, making sure you got your dates. Also, being held back a little bit. Do not instigate it. Don't start losing your temper. You need to compose, stay strong, and put your energy at a positive direction. Not getting back at this individual, because it's not going to work. They will never learn. And how they learn, to be honest, is when you leave and they no longer have you there to be their punching bag. So that right there is the lesson. Your absence and your silence says so much more than if you were to fight back and try to do anything. If you have to get a restraining order, that's a process, and they have, everybody involved knows where everybody lives, and I'm not sure how safe that is. And I don't like the process of restraining orders, because you do need to go up there and speak in front of the person that's hurting you on why you want a restraining order from them. So there are advocates at rape crisis centers and things like that that can assist you on that. And Rape Crisis Center is wonderful on that. I'm sure they'll handle situations that don't involve rape, or they'll even have resources that you can turn to that can help you in that area. But because my story involved the Rape Crisis Center, I was able to find out a lot of that information. And I was just appalled with the fact that after my father got out of prison, I couldn't get a restraining order because I needed to go to court and tell them why I needed one. So it's just very bizarre how he didn't automatically have one when he got out of prison. But our goal is to break the cycle. Understanding the importance of self-awareness is very important. Don't go from one to another. That is the problem that we're facing when we're victims, because we don't have space to heal. If you're constantly putting yourself in another relationship, 9 times out of 10, you're picking the wrong individual all over again. And it's not that you can attract them. It's just that's how common they are. And there are a lot of good people out there, but those are the ones, it's like, a dime a dozen. Those are the ones you have to look for. So take your time. Discover yourself, find out who you are once you get away from this individual. Before jumping into another relationship, it's best to take some time to yourself, build yourself back up, and find out your core values, because you just got stripped of them. And also reflect on these past relationships to better your looking at this differently, not being naive, because sometimes we'll say, oh, well, they seemed really nice and they did all the right things. Give it 6 months. Really look for awkward cues, this, that, and the other, before you even commit to dating. Give it 6 months. Jumping in is not always the solution to your current situation. You might be opening a can of worms that's going to cost you 10 years of your life. So that's a choice you got to make. And every single day we have this choice, guys. Therapeutic practices can help you with those things. And then also having healthy relationships that you can turn to ask and meet these people and say, what do you think of this individual? I thought they were really nice. Did you find anything awkward, different, or alarming, red flags, anything that I should be aware of? And they will tell you, because they love you. And that's what you want to surround yourself with. People who truly, truly love you, who give things to you without anything in return. They do it because they know you need it. And part of that is their opinion, their observation of your choices. And they can also be a guide for you to rebuild yourself up, because you can go to them not feeling shamed, but asking them, what behaviors have I endured over these months that I was with this person that I didn't have before being with them? And they'll tell you, they'll go down the line and they'll be like, well, you used to do this more, you used to do that more. And, we used to talk all the time. I miss us going for coffee and shopping. And you can start promoting those things back into your life to rebuild. And having that effective communication is so important, just to be able to be vulnerable and able to express yourself. Sometimes we don't even know how to express it. We can just talk about what happened. We just don't know how to feel anymore because it's been ripped out of us. But as you're talking, start putting your hand on your heart and just, I mean, they'll think that you're doing the pledge, but just feeling your heart as you speak, because you need to heal your heart. You're building these walls of emotion that won't let love back in, healthy love at least. And you'll probably get this wonderful person, but give them such a hard time because of the misery you just went through. And here this person's going to suffer because you have baggage. So I automatically recommend everyone to start healing their wounds before going into healthy relationships, because you don't want those individuals having to suffer, the ones that are positive, the ones that'll be there for you. So that's as far as I would go with that. And then, taking action for yourself. Start, golly, I listened to a lot of audiobooks. I did a lot of courses on the anatomy of the body. I wanted to know from psychology to neurology to every single thing on how our body communicates with emotion, and where did these things come from and how did triggers happen. I just needed to know that. It was helping me on some of the pains that were going on in my body, and then some of the behaviors I was exuding. So, not being that people pleaser, not trying to figure out what the other person is thinking sometimes, that you go overboard, you exude too much information, and then that individual looks at you in a certain manner, and what do? Immediately feel shame. You know that you just went too far. So observing these things in a healthy way. Mindfulness is such a plus, and a lot of people are like, I can't, I will say it is food for the soul. If you can sit in a quiet space and be still and put the whole world on the outside and give yourself permission for that moment to just do nothing but think about what is going on in your body and how to get it out of your body, and how to be maybe in touch with God or in touch with your heart more, whatever area you're working on at that moment, every single day, that mindfulness, that quiet time, that solitude, do it over a cup of tea, sit in the backyard, look at the flowers, do it in a way where it's non-intrusive and there's not going to be an interruption. It's very, very helpful. It's medicine, and it doesn't cost anything other than your time. And don't forget, you're never going to get that time back. So if you don't start doing the healing process, you're just dragging it out, because eventually you're going to have to do it, or else this baggage is going to be on your back for the rest of your life. That's a choice you have. If you want to carry it, go right ahead, but you don't have to. And then being kind to yourself, how you talk to yourself, how many voices you have going at you at different circumstances. How many times do you just pull yourself down? You don't give yourself enough credit for your accomplishments, for your achievements. Who is also taking care of you? Are your children helping out in the home? Are they being more of a team with you? Or are they, making you do all the work, and then you're working all day and you're worrying about them? Pulling your children in, pulling your family in to help you out, to relieve some of that burden and that stress so you can start taking care of yourself, is very important. If you get involved with another relationship, that individual, you can pull them in and say, listen, after I do this task, I'm going to go up and have some meditation time. I'm going to write in my journal, and I just want an hour, if that's okay. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be okay with it. The only reason why they wouldn't be okay with it would be because of something that you forgot you promised. So, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, cool. That was probably one of my biggest pluses with my marriage. I was not the ideal wife. I was not healed. I was very traumatized. I couldn't find myself. I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing to myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was overworking. I never really got involved with drugs and alcohol. I can see why people do, though, because if you're not busy, you're pouting. And I didn't want to pout. I didn't want to sit there and pout. So I just didn't know how to deal with it. So I dove into work, and I was as disconnected as possible because I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to handle. So being more mindful and having that understanding helped me come back to the room and sit down with a smile, because now I want to be with you all, because I had that time to let my day off, take my day off my plate and get past some difficult things that I dealt with or am dealing with. So speak kindly to yourself, say positive things to yourself, acknowledge your accomplishments, and, get that go-getter attitude inside you. Say, you know what? It didn't work before, but now it's going to. Today's a new day. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about yesterday. If I start getting attacked by all these different areas, I simply stop that and say, you know what? I hear you, but let's get back to that. Today I'm completely booked with tasks. So that, regardless if you are or not, you're giving yourself that space to think about what just got thrown at you from your ex or from an issue that's outside of your daily life. It's always good to take that time and just be, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no, not right now, because never, ever, ever answer or go forward with a conversation that requires a lot of emotion from you. Never do it when you're tired. You will always mess up. You will always either get angry or agree to something that you didn't want to agree with because you had absolutely no strength to stand up for yourself. Always, always, never, ever make an agreement without thinking it through, whatever that agreement is, because us individuals who have been traumatized tend to make a lot of split decision. You just say something just to get it out of your way. You make even a positive commitment that's not even the positive commitment you wanted to make. You want to make sure you think everything through. Don't try to make others happy. Don't try to accommodate anybody. Stop and really think through, is this something I want to do? Not need to do, because sometimes we do things because we need money or we need help, and that's still the wrong thing to do. But in anything, I highly recommend always giving that individual an answer after between 24 and 72 hours if it's something major. Encourage open dialogue. So if you're able to get involved with groups, bringing your story to the table will help other people be aware. Sometimes speakers go into schools and they talk to teenagers and they kind of give them some life advice. If anything's like open for that, I would highly recommend encouraging these students to recognize what manipulation is. They're not taught that. And also what mindfulness is, what going and really taking care of yourself. Storytelling is very healing, and I just highly recommend it. I think that I probably told my story 1,000,000 times, and then finally I was sick of hearing it. It no longer had energy. It no longer did anything to me. That's when I wrote my book. I didn't want to write my book when it was still lodged into my body and I was still dealing with emotional issues. The issues I dealt with my book came up during my book. They weren't carried over from prior situations that I was holding back. If anything, I wrote my book and I looked at my story with new eyes. Everything in my story was completely diverted in a different perspective because I no longer had that want to have a relationship with my mom, or that pain that those arguments caused, or the pain my father caused, even the pain of him going away to prison and me feeling responsible deep down inside that was something I created. But when I came onto the other side, I looked at all the individuals and the children I saved from being abused. And that's when I needed to say, good job, Nancy. Look at that. You don't even know who these kids are, but it still makes you cry because no one had to feel that way, the way you felt. You put a stop to it. So I was very, very, very pleased with how I was able to turn that around and really build strength off of that. So storytelling, journaling is really, really healthy. I think writing gibberish doesn't matter. But what happens in your journaling is you get to start off at one point, and when you see where you end, you realize your accomplishment on how far you came. And I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for what we've been through and what we've had to endure. We need to look at those more in a positive light. And the depression, the anxiety, all of that is all workable. It takes time. It's workable. But starting out with positive affirmations about yourself and about your accomplishments starts with journaling, because then you see it for what it is. And there's something that happens to an individual that writes everything they're feeling. All of their stories, all of their experiences. For some reason, that is another medicine to our body to release and to release and to release. Because all the times that you had to inherit all of that bad stuff, each one of those are lodged and lodged and lodged and lodged in your poor body, what it's been through. And I'm sure you're not physically active, you're exhausted, but you need to become more physically active. You need to start journaling. This is if you want to heal. The blood goes through our body. It regenerates, it rebuilds. Every 7 years, our body rebuilds and rebuilds and rebuilds. So every 7 years, you can do your job by meditating and journaling and letting your body take its course. It needs to be on your time. But as you go through it and you start seeing certain stories no longer hurt you the way they do, if anything, they start making you either angry or you feel sorry for the individual, like your viewpoints start shifting. And that has a lot to do with maturity. But if you don't start doing that, you will get lodged and be trapped back where the abuser had you. All you're doing is continuing his or her work without them in your life. You are continuing that abuse. So journaling, talking, facing it slowly on your time. Start with small stuff that you know you can handle and work your way up. You don't have to purge. You don't have to get it out in a certain amount of time. It took me 30 years to get over 12 years of abuse of my childhood. And then the abuse with my mom pretty much ended in my mid-30s. So now I'm in my 50s. And I look at that and I'm like, I let this take enough of my life. It's time for me to live my life. And that's what I'm here sharing with everyone, because I know how hard it is and it's not easy. But you have to go with what your body can handle. Take small steps, start with the small situations. And if you can start forgiving the little ones, you can work your way up to the big ones. And forgiving is not forgetting. Forgiving is forgiving for you, not forgiving them and forgetting the situation or the story or what happened. It's forgiving because I want my power back. The more you're upset and entangled with your abuser or your manipulator, the more they are winning. You don't have your life because you're spending all your days thinking and upset and angry about them. So you are contributing to what they started without even involving them anymore. So look at it in different ways. I do have more to say, but thank you for listening on this part. I am going to go into some more things about being programmed, because I think that when you start hearing some of the things you're saying to yourself, you start saying, oh, damn, I was programmed. And you are programmed. We all are programmed. But this is bad programming that I want to go over. The good programming is us trying to love ourselves and be joyful and find healthy relationships. We'll get to the good programming, but right now we need to get through the bad. But I appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great day and keep shining. It's your time to rise up. Thank you. My name is Nancy Pusateri. That concludes today's episode, and thank you for joining me on this empowering journey today on Rising Up. Remember, healing from abusive trauma is a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Each episode, I hope, It will provide you with insights and tools and encouragement that you need to reclaim your power and find your voice. If you found this content helpful and inspiring, please consider subscribing to my podcast and also liking, so that way it reaches out to more people like you and me. And also comment below. Let me know of your thoughts, and if there's anything that you want me to talk more about. If you have any questions, that would be wonderful. Right there in the comments is a great place to go. You could also go to my website at www.risingup-nancypusateri.com. I have my email on there, my phone number. You can text me. I'm open to any type of conversation as long as it stays within the parameters of what I'm talking about. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can rise up and find the power within to heal. Until next time, take care of yourselves and be kind to one another. Thank you.